So everyone just assume the Canadian housing market is this massive speculative bubble that's like one rate hike away from just falling apart and a free fall. But is that actually what the data shows? Hey, this is Ashish Sharma, your realtor from Right at Home Realty Brokerage. In today's video, we're gonna discuss what is happening exactly in the Canadian housing market and is that actually a bubble or not. And before we go further, this is not any kind of financial advice because everybody's situation is different, but the data doesn't lie. And let's get into it. And without further ado, let's unlock real estate. Welcome back. So, here's why the bubble narrative sticks. And I get it. I understand why smart people believe this. You have got interest rate that went from basically 0 to like north of 5%. And if you are on variable, good luck. You were on 7%, 6.8% kind of categories as well. That's aggressive. That's the fastest rate hiking cycle Canada has seen in decades. And people look at that they go, okay, housing prices have to crack because the math of affordability is brutal right now. $1 million home at 2% versus 5%, 6%. We are talking monthly payments that jumped by like $2,000 a month. So the fear makes sense. The media run the crash headlines every single week. That condo market, this market, every market is crashing. But buyers are sitting there terrified, watching, waiting. I talk to these people every day. Here's why the story starts breaking down. If this were a pure speculation bubble, like the classic definition, prices disconnected from any underlying demand, you would expect inventory to explode when rates climb. Sellers dumping. Yes, rates did climb. And at the same time, forced sellers doesn't happen. In this environment, and yeah, inventory also rise. We saw it. Our portal tracked it. And if you want to know more about it, visit unlockrealestate.ai and become a member today if you are an industry professional. But even at peak inventory level, GTA active listing hitting high numbers we hadn't seen in years. Prices didn't free fall. They corrected. Sure. About 22%, 30%, 28% depend upon the market of the pandemic peak across the overall different part of the GTA market. That's real, that's correction. But a crash, a bubble popping, that's 50-60%. That was Detroit. If you go back and check Detroit 2008, you will come to know what the crash looked like. That didn't happen in Canada. And the question is why? And this is where you gotta look at the supply side because that's where the data gets interesting. Canada added 1 million people in 2023 alone, 2024 million again, 1 million, and GTA is absorbing a massive chunk of that. In fact, people who moved in other part of Canada as well moving to GTA. Now ask yourself, how many new housing units did we build to match that? Not even close. We have underbuilding for years. Builders are not building. Very few new construction projects came out. The gap between the population growth and the housing completion in this country is not a rounding error, it's a structural deficit. And that creates a floor under prices. The interest rates alone can't punch through because ultimately people need somewhere to live. The demand doesn't evaporate because borrowing got expensive. It gets compressed. It gets frustrated, but it doesn't disappear. Now look at the month of inventory data from our portal. This is the stuff that tells you who actually has the power. Anything under 4 months in GTA is technically a seller's market. That's a technical word. We crossed above 4 months. Yes, certain municipalities, certain property types like condo apartment in City of Toronto touched 7 months as well. Have seen month of inventory push higher, which is why condo have taken the hardest hit. Whenever there are inventory high, price is gonna come down. But it took the hardest hit. Some condo categories down 8%, 9% year over year we have seen. That's where the pain is concentrated. But detached home, other housing categories depend upon the supply constrained suburbs, a completely different story. The MOI on those stories tells a different tale entirely. And everyone keep talking about the mortgage renewal cliff. Like renewals are gonna trigger mass for selling, and that's why finally the bubble pop. Look, nobody has crystal ball. I won't sit here and tell you prices can't drop another 5%, 10%, 100%. It can drop down and by 10%, 100% it can drop down another 5% or 10%. But forced sale require two things: people underwater on their mortgage and unable to make payments. Canadian banks are offering amortization extensions. People are stretching to 30 years, 35 years, and people who are already on that mortgage, some have amortization of 100 year as well. So it's painful, it's not pretty, but it's not forced selling at scale. The banks doesn't want those properties either. It's a burden for them. So here's where I land. And this is the replacement narrative the data is actually pointing to. This is not bubble. A bubble implies where the price is fake, built on nothing. What we have is a permanent repricing of shelter in one of the most desirable immigration destinations on earth, in a country that has a geography problem. Most of Canada is not livable at scale. The GTA, the Golden Horseshoe, the land is finite, and the demand feeding into it is not slowing down. You can't time the market. I say that because I mean it. Buyers who waited in 2021 for the crash missed the run up. Buyers who waited in 2023 for the crash, well, prices are still above where a lot of them expected to buy. The opportunity cost of sitting out compounds every year you wait. Where the value plays are right now, based on what our portal is showing, it's in those oversupplied condo categories where sellers are motivated, and in municipalities where inventory is elevated but fundamentals are strong. That's where you negotiate. That's where you find the deals hiding in plain sight. If you want to know specifically what that looks like for your situation, for your city, for your budget, for your housing categories, reach out to me. I'm your guy. I have helped buyers, sellers make informed decisions based on data, not headlines. Data. And as I always say, keep on learning, keep on hustling, keep on growing. Until next time, have a good one.